Strategic setup of a new company, part 2, coming up now. Hi, I'm Oliver and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and pushing that notification bell. It helps the YouTube algorithm to push it out to other people who might be interested in this content. Now, without further ado, let's deep dive into today's topic, the strategic setup of a new company, part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, I highly recommend that you watch this video. I'll link it up here so you get a better idea of the complete context of this video. Alright, so we left the discussion where the entrepreneur had to go back to the drawing board and come up with a solution to de-risk his project. He then found a subsection of his set of ideas that actually would make a lot of sense to start by itself first. I said to him, that's great. He showed me some numbers and they look quite promising. And that actually came to the point where we had an agreement that he has now to prove that his assumptions are correct. Now we're at the time where he's rushing as hard and as fast as possible so that he can place 5 to 10 systems out on the field and see whether they're working or not. The main idea behind this is that he can A, prove that his assumption is right, that there is a need for this project, B, that his margin assumptions are correct and that the way it is calculated in his returns is feasible or not, and C, that all the back office systems are set up in a correct way. Now, the idea behind pushing the system out to the public as fast as possible is quite easy. He wants to generate first revenues because it is a good feeling, but it's also very important because it will raise the value of the company. This down the line has further effects because it's now much easier to raise capital from investors to speed up the execution of his business by a factor of X. This should then result in a much faster and more sustainable growth of the company. Of course, this is not everything. At the end, he also has to prove to himself that things are working, but furthermore, he then also has to figure out whether his assumptions are correct and what he should do to protect his ideas. By protection of ideas, I don't necessarily mean IP protections, but he has to come up with a risk plan. What I mean by this, he has to have an idea which parts are essential and will kill his company and which parts are, let's say, not as likely to have a huge impact on his business. Because if one part of the chain might be so crucial that if it fails, his complete cash flow will come to a stop at that second, he will be in big trouble, especially once he's using investor money to buy or speed up new processes and systems. Once the de-risking or the risk management has been, let's say, roughly taken care of, he will then have to go back to the suppliers that he's thinking of working with in the future and renegotiate the terms of the contracts. Because at the time that he started, his idea had a completely different perspective. This perspective is now focused towards a bottom-up approach where he starts off with a small part of the system and then increases it over time, which of course would make it easier also to exactly know what the customers are looking for in the future. All right, I hope you liked it so far and I hope you're looking forward to part 3 where we come back with more updates on how successful the launch has been. Looking forward to your feedback and comments and see you next time.